Hey, what's going on everybody? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be talking about Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes. Alright, so I'm going to give you all my overall thoughts on the movie real quick. And to be 100% honest with you all, I did not like this movie at all. There was very little that I liked about this movie. Um, yeah, it did not do it for me. And with that being said, I'm not the biggest fan of the first Pumpkinhead. Um, I think it's decent. I really like the concept and the premise of the first Pumpkinhead, but it's by no means one of my favorite late '80s horror movies. It's just okay. I'm okay with it. It's whatever. But this this sequel was not it. So the way the order that I'm recording these reviews in, this is the first Pumpkinhead review that I'm doing, and if you all are familiar with my channel, I sometimes don't do stuff in order. I just decided to watch this because it was on streaming, and I've never seen this installment on streaming. The only films that I've seen in this franchise, I've seen the first one before, and I've seen the fourth one before. Like I said, the first one I think is decent. Not one of my favorites, but it's a decent movie. Really iconic premise, super unique. The fourth one, I I don't like that much, but I do like the fourth one better than this one. This movie, I don't know. There was nothing engaging about it. The story, we've seen it before. It was slightly different than the first movie. You know, the first movie you had Lance Hendrickson's character, his son got killed, and then he summoned Pumpkinhead. This actually, now that I'm kind of getting into the plot summary, I'm just going to get into a short plot summary. So yeah, basically, here's the plot summary. So you have this mortician played by Doug Bradley, which if you all are horror fans, you already know who that is. Doug Bradley played Pinhead in all the Hellraiser movies, so it's cool that he's in it. So you got this mortician played by Doug Bradley, and he's up to some shady stuff. He is stealing people's organs and selling them, and then he's just dumping their bodies in the swamp. So you know, this is not cool. This is not gonna fly. So the townspeople, they find out that Doug Bradley's character is, you know, selling these organs and dumping these bodies of their loved ones. They're not having it, so they go to that crusty witch woman who has to be at least like 300 years old. Like, homegirl needs some moisturizer or something. Like, I mean, I feel like she gets 10 times crustier every movie. The makeup on her was good. But anyways, the townspeople, they're mad. They go to that crusty witch woman, and they summon Pumpkinhead to get revenge on this mortician, and Pumpkinhead starts picking people off, and that's the basic plot, the basic premise of the movie. So yeah, you know, it, like I said, it's pretty darn similar. I mean, of course, like, that's the whole premise of this franchise, is the whole, it's like the revenge demon. But I mean, I guess it was slightly different in the fact that, you know, their motives were different. Like, you know, it was like, you know, Lance Hendrickson's character in the first one, his son passed and he was trying to get revenge for that. They had different reasons because it was this mortician, and that was kind of a cool angle because it was actually kind of cool when you would see Doug Bradley's character just doing his diabolical stuff. Like he's performing like an autopsy, and he's cutting people open, like cutting people's stomachs open. He's like cutting skin off their throat, and he's putting the organs in a cooler, and all the gore, that was all practical gore, and it looked really good and it was creepy. And he's like, selling the organs, and he's, meeting up with shady individuals, so all that stuff was cool. But I mean, other than the motives for calling Pumpkinhead being slightly different, I mean, this movie is pretty darn close to the plot of the original movie. Like Pumpkinhead's just killing people, nothing new or interesting is going on, and there's just really nothing interesting going on in the movie at all. The characters are bland. I don't know anyone's name. No one has any charisma. All like the backdrops and the settings are bland. Like this is just one of those bland movies. It was bland. It was boring. It was hard to sit through. Like, I mean, I love sequels, and I'm a fan of low budget stuff. And this was a Sci-Fi Channel original. I like a lot of Sci-Fi Channel originals, but this movie was just, there was just nothing that really appealed to me. Nothing that like made me interested, made me want to. I wanted to turn it off. I was just so bored. Like, but I was like, okay, I'm doing the review, and I want to get the whole franchise done eventually. So I'm like, I gotta power on and watch the whole movie. But it was cool that Doug Bradley was in this movie. He had a lot to do, so that was cool. And he's a horror alum, a horror icon, so it was cool to see him. And then Lance Hendrickson from the first one, he comes back. He doesn't have as big of a role as Doug Bradley, but it's cool to see him back. It's fun that he's down to come back to this franchise and play the same character. And just a quick fun note, so this movie came out in 2006. The 2005 movie Hellraiser Hellworld features Doug Bradley as Pinhead, and then Lance Hendrickson is also in that movie as well. So I don't know, I was just thinking about that movie. Like, I was like, oh, I wonder if that's maybe why Doug Bradley was in this. Like, I wonder if him and Lance Hendrickson maybe became friends on the set of Hellraiser Hellworld, and then when the new Pumpkinhead was coming up, Lance Hendrickson maybe like recommended him. I don't know, but I gotta shout out Hellraiser Hellworld, because I mean, I don't love that movie, but I think that's like a decent. I feel like it's like an underrated Hellraiser sequel for, like, in terms of the direct to DVD ones. Like some people completely hate on that one. I kind of mess with Hellraiser Hellworld, so shouts out to Hellraiser Hellworld. Honorable mention right there. Getting back to the actual movie at hand here, though, Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes. One like I'm saying, there's like the small sliver of goodness in this movie is just when Pumpkinhead is on screen, because Pumpkinhead for the most part looks great. It's the Pumpkinhead creature looks practical. It's either like someone in a suit or a giant animatronic. It looks really good, and the gore in this movie is actually pretty decent. But even though there is a lot of practical effects, there's a lot of CGI. And I mean, if you all are familiar with, I mean, this is a Sci-Fi Channel original. If you're familiar with Sci-Fi Channel originals, they have copious amounts of CGI. So some of the CGI in this was, I'm not the biggest hater of CGI. Like, sometimes I don't mind it. Sometimes you got to use it. Sometimes it's cheaper. I can kind of suspend disbelief if it looks a little bit fake, but the CGI in this movie looked so ridiculous. Like, there's this one instance where Pumpkinhead is crawling up the side of the building and like on the roof, and then Pumpkinhead blasts through the wall. It looks like a PlayStation 1 video game. Like it's that bad. It's so bad. Like I was laughing. I was like, this is actually hilarious. But yeah, that kind of took me out of it. So yeah, that CGI killed it. So like I said, the only the only really good parts of this movie, it was cool seeing Doug Bradley and Lance Hendrickson, and it was cool seeing Pumpkinhead when Pumpkinhead was on screen and Pumpkinhead wasn't CGI. Other than that, this movie was so boring, so hard to get through. I would 100% not recommend it. I would say please skip this movie. Stick to the first one. Yeah, you don't need to watch this. If you're really curious about this, watch some clips on YouTube and call it a day. But anyways, I pretty much talked about everything that I wanted to talk about, so I'm gonna wrap things up here. Thank you all very much for watching, and peace out.